Hello, welcome to another video of what makes this exercise great series, and this next one is quite an underrated exercise. I call it Horsestance, but it's also known as bird dog or quadruped. Whatever name you'd like to give it, it doesn't really matter. It's a great exercise anyway. So let's have a look at the several reasons why it's a great exercise, and also several variations which also makes it a great exercise. So this first one is like the simple one that you see on the floor. Commonly known as a great one for back pain, people with back pain, but it really is, and there's the reasons for it that behind it, why it's so good for back pain is that firstly, the exercise really targets the core in a big way. So, and the reason being because you're unstable. So I've got my left hand and my right leg, so I've got to control this movement that can happen easily diagonally or even laterally across my body. So my core is constantly working, but the best part is I've got a lot of control through the hip. So my hip's really secure and stable here, which a ball and socket joint, it's usually a bit unstable, and especially the shoulder. And this is one of the reasons why it works so well with back pain, hip pain and shoulder pain, because these two joints are really given the best possible advantage in trying to create good stability. So with the hip, I can, on the leg that it's extended here, I can really get my glutes quite well involved, which you'll see in a second, one of the ways that I do this. But I can also get my serratus anterior involved, which if I keep playing this for you, when the arm's on the ground on the other side, so I can really work through the scapula and protract, which gets me, it's like a very regressed version of pushing exercises, for example, push-ups or chest press or cable press. It's like the very foundation that they're built upon, and this is where I wanted to show you here, is on this side, so my serratus anterior, which is sort of through there, I can really encourage that to work by pushing down into the ground quite hard, which then allows my shoulder to sort of sit quite pronounced, and more to do with the scapula and how that moves, and it will have this sort of nice upward rotation. So I can really work really well through here with people when there are a lot of shoulder pain, and it's like a stepping stone to the harder pushing movements that they're going to need to do. But at the same time, I can really work through the hip area region, and you can see really good here that through the glutes, and really the glute max, which is often the weaker of the glute complex, and and like I said right at the start, the core's being involved the whole time. So you can see a lot of the things that we see with common weaknesses with shoulder pain, hip pain, back pain. I'm sort of hitting all of them at the same time. The only probably disadvantage is someone with knee pain who can't kneel. That's probably the only drawback of this exercise. But apart from that, this exercise has amazing benefits. Now, another great thing with this exercise is I can continue to challenge people, but not have compression on the joints that we just discussed, because I'm in a horizontal position, so there's no compression into the spine, the shoulder joint, or the hip joint, because I'm really structurally stable and strong. So I can add a progression like this with instability using a BOSU or one of those balance pads works quite well as well. Very harder than it looks to do this, all right? Because the instability works on a reflex, so you can't premeditate. You've got to really react to it, and there's this constant sort of shuddering from the BOSU, and even the shoulder, all the little small muscles of the stabilizers have got to work quite hard to maintain that position. All right, so then I can also take it up a notch. So I've gone from the basic version, and I've gone to the reflex stability version, and now I can go to a strength version where I can start to apply load. But again, the beauty of adding load in this one is the lack of compression that's being forced upon me that we would normally have as a problem when you're doing the standing up exercises, say like especially single leg things, where a lot of people with hip and back pain, they just don't have the strength to or the stability to really drive that. So I can add this cable to my foot as I've shown here, and now like my glute has got to do a hell of a lot more, but also my core. People are really surprised just how much their core rips into action when you place a cable on their foot. and the coordination of the arm and the leg combining together, and really I've got this massive resistance going horizontally. So the only thing that can push this is my glutes. This is where sometimes people are overactive in the hamstrings and the standing exercises. That's no longer a problem with this one, because the hamstrings are really incapable of doing too much. It really forces the glutes, and you might see some overactivity through the lumbar spine, but in this position the person has a lot more control. And like I said before, once that hand leaves the ground here, there's a huge amount of core activity straight away. You don't even have to tell them. The exercise will demand it from them instantly. All right, so that's a great progression of this exercise. You can see how, like, this same exercise being done multiple ways affects so many different parts, especially parts that people really struggle to control and have real obvious weakness that becomes a problem ongoing for them. All right, so then once I've done that, I can even turn this into a more of a dynamic type of exercise that's similar to like walking lunges or something like that, where it's this sort of leads to really gait. And this is actually where the exercise comes from. It comes from crawling. So we're all at some point a toddler, and we learned how to crawl. So this is where you can learn how to control your gait pattern, so the shoulder and the hip working in opposite fashion to each other, so that your contralateral movement. See, I've got my right hand as a stabilizer with my left leg as a stabilizer, so I can move this leg and this hand, just like we do when we walk. So this is quite a regressed way to encourage that pattern, and I've used this quite extensively with people with disability like MS, stroke victims, and some people like with cerebral palsy. Just depends on the degree of it, but a great way to sort of get that gait pattern working more efficiently. And it's so these are all linked to the horse stance exercise itself. All right, so this is one of the reasons why I'm using. It's not always with injury and rehabilitation. Some of these advanced ones are great for prevention of exercises and a great addition to a strength program for someone with nothing wrong with them. All right, they just possess some of the great things that we all need, and the best thing, it has the least amount of risk associated with it. So I can really challenge someone without really, even if they mess it up, nothing catastrophic will happen to them. All right, so yeah, so that breaks down our horse stance exercise, and the several reasons why I rate it so highly. And hopefully you find it useful in your training, and you can use it with some of these variations that I've shown you today. All right, and we'll see you on our next video.